I had just cast my line into the still water, watching sunlight shimmer across the lake's surface, when an unmistakable screech cut through the calm behind me. "You excuse me," she snapped. I turned slowly. There she was, mid-50s, tightly curled blonde bob, oversized sunglasses, and a clipboard clutched like a badge of authority. Karen. Not just any Karen, the HOA president, and I knew instantly she was about to be a problem. She strode up onto the dock, heels clacking across the gravel like a warning siren approaching a crime scene. "This is private property, sir. You need a permit to fish here." I blinked once. "You sure about that?" She scoffed. "Of course I am. I run the HOA here. This lake falls under our jurisdiction." I paused, letting the absurdity sink in. "Lady," I said evenly, "this lake's been in my family since 1972. That sign you walked past? The one that clearly says private lake trespassers will be prosecuted. I put that there." She froze briefly, lips parting. "Well, that can't be. This is part of the Lakewood HOA district. I have maps." I almost laughed. "Karen, you might have maps, but I've got the deeds." Her eyes narrowed. "You can't just fish here because you say you own it. Show me your permit, or I'll call security." There it was, the threat. I stood up slowly from my folding chair, carefully keeping my composure. "I don't need a permit to fish my own damn lake." Her gaze flicked toward the small security cart parked along the trail, where a rent-a-guard sat sipping iced coffee. Pretending not to pay attention, she waved him over. "Call the HOA board now," she snapped. "We have a violation." The guard hesitated, then reached for his walkie-talkie. I shook my head, letting out a quiet chuckle. "You have no idea what you're starting, Karen." She leaned forward with a smug grin. "You'll be fine. Trust me." What she didn't realize, what was about to make her jaw drop, was that not only did I own the lake, I owned the land this entire HOA sat on. And I was done staying quiet. Karen stood rigid as the security guard approached, clearly confused about why he was being dragged into a lakeside argument. "Ma'am," he asked cautiously, "what seems to be the issue?" She pointed at me like I'd stolen her purse. "This man is illegally fishing in our HOA lake without a permit. I want him removed immediately." I exhaled slowly, then reached into my tackle bag. Not for anything dangerous, but for the black folder I always carried for moments like this. I opened it, pulled out a copy of the original property deed, and handed it over. "To be clear," I said calmly, "this entire lake, the perimeter trail, the dock, everything past the oak tree line, that's all mine. Has been in my family for over 50 years. This is not HOA property. Never has been." Karen didn't even glance at the papers. "Anyone could print that out. That proves nothing." The guard, however, took the folder and raised his eyebrows as he read. "Ma'am, this shows his family owns parcel 109L, including Lake Dorston and the surrounding acreage." Karen snatched the papers back, scanning them furiously. "This must be outdated. Our HOA map clearly shows this area as shared common space." I reached into the folder again. "Here's the updated survey from last year, stamped, notarized, and filed with the county. And here's a letter from the zoning board confirming it's not under HOA jurisdiction." The guard let out a low whistle. "Wow, that's airtight." Karen's lips trembled. "No, this is some kind of trick." I stepped closer, lowering my voice but keeping it firm. "Karen, you've harassed me for the last time. You stormed onto my property, accused me of trespassing, and tried to issue fines on land your HOA doesn't even control. That's borderline harassment." Her face drained of color. Then, without hesitation, she pulled out her phone. "You know what? I'm calling the sheriff. Let them sort this out." I gave a small smile. "Go ahead. I'll show them the same documents. But once you make that call, it becomes official." She hesitated, then pressed dial anyway. "Yes, I'd like to report a man trespassing and refusing to comply with HOA regulations," she said, her voice rising as she exaggerated the story. While she talked, I stepped back and made my own call, not to the police, but to my Marine brothers. Not for show, but because if Karen wanted to play legal hardball, she needed to understand exactly who she was dealing with. It didn't take long. As Karen stood on the dock ranting into her phone, twisting the story to make me sound like a belligerent trespasser, I heard the low rumble of engines approaching. Then I saw it, the moment I'd been waiting for. A matte black pickup rolled into view, a faded Marine Corps flag fluttering from the back. 2 more trucks followed, forming a tight convoy. Doors opened almost in unison. Out stepped my brother's 3 Marines I had served with, along with one of their sons in a sheriff cadet uniform. Combat boots, sharp posture, the kind of presence that makes people reconsider everything they just said. Karen's voice cracked mid-sentence as she saw them. The security guard immediately stepped back. I walked toward the lead truck. "Appreciate you coming." Rick, the tallest of the group, patted my shoulder. "You said HOA drama again. Figured you could use backup." Karen lowered her phone, eyes darting nervously between them. Who are they?" I answered before she could finish. "Friends, brothers, and if needed, witnesses." Karen swallowed hard. "You can't just summon people like an army. This is a civil matter." Rick stepped forward, arms folded across his chest. "Ma'am, my nephew here is training with the sheriff's department. He's been recording everything, and what we're seeing looks a lot like harassment on private property." Karen turned toward the cadet. "Are you even authorized to be here?" He calmly lifted his ID. "This isn't HOA land, ma'am. That gives me just as much right to observe as you had barging in." She hesitated, then pointed at me. "He refuses to comply with our fishing permit rule. That lake is part of." I cut in. "Show them your proof. Karen, show them one single legal document that says you or your HOA control this lake." She opened her clipboard, flipping through papers, hesitating. Nothing she had could stand against the certified deeds we had already presented. One of the Marines stepped forward. "Lady, you made a serious mistake." Karen's hands trembled. "I didn't know." "You didn't ask," I replied. "You just assumed. Like always, that's when the sheriff's car finally arrived. Sirens off, lights still flashing. An older deputy stepped out, nodded briefly to the cadet, then scanned the scene. "What's the issue here?" Karen stepped forward to explain, but her voice was smaller now because for the first time, she wasn't in control. The deputy, grizzled, likely in his late 50s, walked onto the dock with the calm confidence of someone used to settling disputes like this. Karen straightened quickly, desperate to regain authority. "Officer, thank God you're here. This man is fishing without a permit on HOA-controlled property. He's being aggressive, and these men," she gestured toward my Marine brothers, "are escalating the situation." The deputy looked at her, then around at the peaceful lake, the calm group, and finally at me. "You, the fisherman?" I nodded, handing over the folder. "Yes, sir. I've already shown this to her and the guard." This is the original deed, updated survey, and zoning confirmation from the county. This lake, the dock, and all surrounding land are part of my family's property. The HOA has no jurisdiction here. He took the documents and flipped through them slowly. Karen jumped in again, voice tight. "Those aren't real. He probably forged them." The deputy raised a finger, cutting her off mid-sentence. After a long pause, he grunted. "Well, everything checks out. County seals are here. Survey looks legitimate. This lake isn't part of the HOA." Karen blinked. "That's not possible. I've lived here for 10 years. The deputy gave her a hard look. "And in those 10 years, did you ever confirm property lines before enforcing rules?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. "I didn't think so," he said. Then he turned back to me. "Sorry to waste your time, sir. You're fully within your rights here." I nodded. "Thank you, officer." Karen wasn't finished, but the cadet spoke up, still recording. "Ma'am, you called the sheriff. He called his friends. That's not intimidation. It's what you do when someone's harassing you." The deputy took a breath. "Here's what's going to happen. Ma'am, you need to leave this property immediately. If you return without cause, the landowner can file a trespass complaint, and I will support it." Karen's face went pale. "But I'm the HOA president. Not in this case," the deputy said firmly. "You have no authority here." She gathered her clipboard in silence and walked off the dock, heels stumbling over the gravel. No apology, no eye contact, just the quiet retreat of someone who finally ran into a wall she couldn't push through. My Marine brothers clapped me on the back. "Handled it like a pro," Rick said. I looked back out at the lake, still calm, peaceful again. "She thought this was just about a fishing pole," I said. "But today, Karen learned who really owns this land." I paused. "And who doesn't? HOA rules didn't mean a thing here." Karen thought she ran this lake until the deed spoke for itself. If you enjoy seeing HOA Karens get put in their place, like, comment, and subscribe for more real moments of justice in action.